Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Maggie. I am the prevention coordinator, and I am joined here today by Brittany. Brittany, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Brittany, and I'm the therapist at WIT.
So, as you all know, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and we've gotten a lot of questions and inquiries about how can I, as an individual, support survivors. So, Brittany is here today. I'm really excited for this conversation. We're going to talk about the do's and don'ts of responding to a survivor. What are some basics that people should really be aware of?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, I would say there are many reasons that people are in abusive or harmful relationships. So it's really important to acknowledge that you might not understand why your loved one or family member is in that relationship or stays in that relationship. And also that harmful and abusive partners can use a number of tactics to keep their partner in the relationship. And so because of that, again, we don't really know why people are staying. Being as patient and empathetic as possible is really important. Um, also just in general, intimate partner violence is still really stigmatized, and that in and of itself can be a big barrier for people reaching out or accessing support. So, being understanding, again, patient, empathetic, and also respecting their self determination or their ability to like make their own choices or kind of like manage their own life. I think that's a really important key to like keep remembering. And also, a lot of survivors feel a lot of shame and guilt from their family or from their loved ones, either directly or indirectly. So, trying to make sure that we're not adding to that. You can express and should express your concern over the situation because, of course, these are dangerous relationships and it could be potentially volatile, but not being judgmental and not adding to that shame and doubt that the person is probably already feeling.
Are there phrases that might come off as judgmental that we want to really specifically avoid that come to mind?
Yeah, definitely. So avoiding certain language like should can be really helpful because saying something like you should do this is just again like eh, violating their right to self-determination. So just like saying, well, this is what you should do without actually being in the situation yourself. Or also kind of on that note, saying what you would do is also not helpful.
Gotcha. Now, I know that I've kind of had to unlearn this as an advocate, but I am such a fact finder. Like, I want to know the ins and outs, and I really want to get into the nitty gritty and try to figure out exactly what's going on to help someone. Any advice for someone with that as that like knee jerk reaction?
Oftentimes, especially when people are in these types of relationships, it can be very traumatic. And when you experience a trauma, there's kind of that level of mistrust or not really feeling ready to open up or talk about certain things. So, for someone who's supporting a survivor, or really anyone who has experienced a trauma, not pushing them to share their story is really helpful. And we don't need to know all of the facts a lot of the times. Like, we can support them in a lot of other ways. Another thing that's really really important for us to validate and to continue to say to survivors is that this is not your fault and that nothing that you are doing is your fault. And what's important is that these are your loved ones, these are friends, family members, associates. So use what you know about them also. Like, if you know that there's someone who, maybe doesn't open up as much, cater your conversation to that knowledge. And maybe just being there physically can be helpful, like finding activities to do instead of like talking about it.
So you don't necessarily have to be talking to them about the situation. Maybe helping a survivor is going out for coffee and talking about anything else, right?
Absolutely. It can be going out for coffee. It can be getting them out of the house sometimes, while also, of course, understanding that that might be more dangerous. So, making sure that you are listening to what the person is saying, even just for them to know that you maybe have like a space that they can physically come to if they need to, like that you can be a part of their safety plan.
What advice would you give someone who's really nervous about the idea of talking to a survivor?
Absolutely. I mean, first I want to validate that it is really scary if you don't know like how to approach, the situation or what to say. I think that's a barrier for people to not say anything at all. And it is okay to feel nervous and to even reflect that to your loved one and to acknowledge like kind of what I said before of like, I don't really understand what you're going through, but I want to support you and I want to learn more and I want to be there for you. And another important thing is don't discount just listening to someone. If you are feeling really nervous, there's so many resources, articles, videos, like things available. So, kind of like educating yourself ahead of time to prepare for the conversation could also be a great way to mitigate some of those nerves.
And I'm thinking, person wants to get involved, the survivor is ready for help. But then all of a sudden, this person starts to realize, like, whoa, this is a lot heavier than I expected. How do we set healthy boundaries, still have the person, but also make sure we're taking care of ourselves, which is super important.
Absolutely. And it's great that you brought it up because I think this happens to a lot of people. We want the best for them. And we also want to take care of ourselves as well. And so it's really finding a balance between that. And I think continuously checking in with yourself and thinking about what your boundaries are and what ways that you can support and reflecting that is really helpful. And having limits on that for your own well being as well as, of course, making sure that you have a support system and that you have a self care routine to support yourself through helping someone else. They are going to live their lives the way that they feel like works for them or the way that they feel is safest or, whatever that might look like, just in the same way that we're going to do that. And so, like, continuing to remind ourselves about that and also to be taking care of ourselves because when this is someone who we love, of course that's harmful for us, like that hurts us. We want our loved ones to be safe, so it's really important for us to be taking care of ourselves as well.
Is there anything else you'd like to add? Anything that we missed up to this point?
Yeah, I think that I just want to reflect that even though this conversation that we've had has been like general, and of course there's a lot of similarities in people's experiences, but also everybody's experience is also different. And so just reminding that like while these are basic techniques, as I've said before, like your person best, and so really it's important to cater to what you know about them or about their life, because there's not a one size fits all approach or response. And also I think just encouraging that person to reach out to for professional support is also a really important piece of this. Like you can't do everything yourself, and you shouldn't because it is a big undertaking, and we can't be that for someone. We can't be everything for someone. And so while it's important for you to have a network of support, it's also very important for the survivor to have a network of support. And so like whether that's WIT or one of the other like amazing domestic violence agencies in Philadelphia who we work with, like whether it's a national helpline, there's a lot of resources available, and so really encouraging that.
Yeah, and I think that sometimes people forget that women in transition, we have a lifeline and it's for survivors, but it's also for people who are supporting survivors. So if you're stuck and you're not sure what to do, or you just need like someone to vent to, calling our lifeline is a great idea. It's a great resource. And so that can also be a really wonderful place just to reach out if you need a little extra support or you're not sure what to do. Awesome. Well, Brittany, thank you so much for joining me today. I feel like I learned a lot. I hope everyone else here learned a lot as well.
Thank you so much, Maggie. It's so great to be able to like have a platform to talk about this. It's really important for people to have some basic tactics or basic like tools in their toolkit because this comes up a lot and it's something that affects a lot of us.